The rain wasn't just falling that night, it was crashing. Like the city itself wanted to drown me for being so stupid. Who gets locked inside a corporate skyscraper at midnight without a badge? Soaking wet. Clutching a notebook like it's some kind of shield. Me. Of course. Me. That's how I ended up in his office. The CEO's office. The man everyone whispered about with a mix of awe and terror, Ethan Kross. I'd heard the stories. Ruthless. Brilliant. Cold as steel. The kind of guy who fires people by email at 3 in the morning. And yet, when he turned his chair around and saw me dripping rainwater on his pristine carpet, he didn't yell. He didn't call security. He just raised one eyebrow like I was the most fascinating problem he'd been handed all week. What exactly are you doing in my office? His voice was smooth, dangerously calm. I froze, heart thundering. I got lost. In a locked building. Past midnight. He leaned back, steepling his fingers. His shirt sleeves were rolled up, his tie abandoned somewhere on the desk. And I hated how unfairly good he looked, like the kind of man who could break you with a smile and you'd thank him for it. Tu was just trying to get out of the rain. I swear. The lobby door locked behind me. He studied me for a long moment, and I swore the silence could kill me faster than a bullet. Then he noticed the notebook in my hand. What's that? It's nothing. Just writing. That's when the strangest thing happened. Instead of throwing me out, Ethan Kross smirked. If you want to stay, then stay. But you'll write here. With me. Every night. I should have run. God. I should have. But something in his eyes, loneliness. Maybe. Or something darker, made me stay rooted to the spot. And when he slid a leather-bound journal across the desk toward me, like an invitation, I sat down. That night, the storm outside raged on. But inside his office, a different storm began. The first week was unbearable. Ethan didn't talk much. He typed furiously at his laptop while I scribbled in my notebook, pretending I wasn't hyper-aware of the warmth radiating from the man just a foot away. The silence between us was heavy, but not empty. It was charged, like the air before lightning strikes. Sometimes I caught him watching me, not with the detached superiority of a boss, but with a quiet curiosity, as if he was trying to solve a puzzle no one else could. And every time our eyes met, I looked away too fast, my cheeks burning. On the fourth night, I finally asked, "Why are you letting me stay?" He didn't answer right away. He just leaned back in his chair, looking out at the rain-streaked skyline. Then he said softly, "Because you're the first person who hasn't asked me for anything." I wanted to laugh. Are you kidding? You're Ethan Kross. People probably line up to ask for favors. That's the problem. His voice was low, raw in a way that didn't match the legend of the ruthless CEO. No one just sits. No one just writes. Something cracked open in me then. Maybe it was the way his shoulders seemed less rigid in that moment. Or how his eyes weren't the cold steel I'd heard about, but something warmer. Fragile even. I realized then that beneath the sharp suits and boardroom victories, he was just as lost as I was. By the second week, our routine felt almost natural. Coffee cups left rings on his mahogany desk. Pages piled up between Ushi's reports. My messy scrawl of half-formed stories. And slowly, the silence between us turned into something else. He started asking about my writing. "What are you working on tonight?" "A short story," I admitted. "About someone who keeps walking into the same office every night because it feels like the only place he belongs." He smiled at that, and I swear it was the first genuine smile I'd ever seen on his face. It lit him up, made him look younger, less haunted. Sounds familiar. And just like that, the walls began to crumble. One night, the storm outside grew violent again, thunder shaking the glass windows. I jumped when the sky split open with lightning. And without thinking, Ethan reached out, his hand brushing mine under the desk. The contact was brief, almost accidental, but it left me breathless. "You're not afraid of storms, are you?" he asked quietly. "Not the storms outside," I whispered back. His gaze lingered on me, intense and unreadable. Something shifted, the invisible thread pulling tighter between us. And for the first time, I wondered if the strange arrangement was less about writing and more about filling the hollow spaces inside both of us. It wasn't perfect. There were nights when Ethan shut down completely, retreating into his laptop, ignoring me like I wasn't even there. Nights when I wondered if I was just a distraction, a novelty to keep his demons at bay. And yet, no matter how late it got, he never asked me to leave. Instead, he'd glance at my notebook when he thought I wasn't looking. He'd leave an extra coffee cup on the desk before I arrived. And once, when I fell asleep on the couch, I woke to find a blanket draped over me, the faint scent of his cologne lingering like a secret. By the third week, I couldn't deny it anymore. I wasn't just writing in his office. I was falling for him. And the scariest part, I think he was falling too. But falling for Ethan Kross was like standing on the edge of a rooftop in the rain. One wrong step, and I knew I'd shatter. Because a man like him wasn't supposed to love. And a boy like me wasn't supposed to be the exception. I told myself I could control it. That I could keep sitting in that office night after night, pretending that the heat in Ethan's eyes wasn't pulling me closer. That the brush of his hand against mine wasn't setting me on fire. But lies are fragile things. And mine shattered the night he finally said it. "You make this place feel less like a prison," he whispered, his voice breaking in a way I'd never heard before. I stared at him, heart pounding. "And what am I supposed to do with that?" His jaw tightened. "Whatever you want." I should have walked away. God knows it would have been safer. But instead, I stayed. The storm didn't come from outside this time, it came from us. The tension that had been building finally snapped one night. When I challenged him. "You hide behind work like it's armor. But you're still bleeding underneath. Ethan, don't you get it? You don't have to do that with me." His eyes flashed, anger mixing with something I couldn't name. "And what do you want me to do? Fall apart. Hand over the pieces of myself no one else has ever seen?" "Yes," I said. "Because I already gave you mine." Silence. The kind of silence that feels like the whole world has stopped. Then he crossed the room in 2 strides, his hand grabbing mine with a desperation that shook me. "Do you have any idea what you're doing to me?" he breathed. "Probably the same thing you're doing to me," I whispered back. And then he kissed me. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't soft. It was fire and thunder, teeth and breath. The taste of something forbidden finally claimed. My notebook slipped from my hand. Forgotten. As his arms pulled me in like he'd been starving for years. For one blinding, terrifying moment, I didn't care about the world outside. All I cared about was him. But nothing about loving Ethan Kross was simple. The next morning, reality crept back in like a cruel shadow. He was colder, distant, as if kissing me had been a mistake he couldn't afford. He buried himself in work, barely looking at me. I almost left then. My pride screamed at me to. But every night, when I thought about not going back, something inside me ached. So I returned. Again and again. And slowly, he softened. Not all at once. Not in a way anyone else would notice. But I saw it in the way he saved the seat beside him. In the coffee that now always had exactly one sugar. In the stolen glances when he thought I wasn't watching. We were learning each other's storms. The breaking point came when I found him asleep at his desk. His head resting on his folded arms. The ruthless CEO. The man who never showed weakness. Looked so young. So tired. So utterly human in that moment. I reached out, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. His eyes opened slowly, catching me in the act. "You should hate me," he murmured. "You should hate everything about me." "Then why does it feel like I can't breathe without you?" I answered. And that was it. The dam broke. He pulled me down beside him, holding me like I was the last solid thing in a world made of glass. That night, we didn't write a word. We just held on. The final weeks blurred into something I never thought I'd have belonging. The office that once felt like a cage became a haven. Ethan still had his walls, his sharp edges. But he let me inside them. He let me see the man beneath the title. And in return, I gave him something he didn't know he was missing. Not worship. Not fear. Not admiration. Just love. The night the rain finally stopped, we sat by the window, the city glowing beneath us. My notebook lay forgotten on the desk. "You changed everything," he said softly. "So did you," I whispered. He leaned in, kissing me with the tenderness we'd both been too afraid of at the start. This time, it wasn't fire, it was warmth. Safety. The promise of mornings that didn't hurt. The storms were behind us. Months later, I still write in his office. Sometimes he types away beside me. Sometimes he just watches. And sometimes he takes the pen from my hand and writes a line himself. We laugh. We fight. We make up. But every night, no matter how late it gets, he looks at me like I'm the story he never thought he'd be part of. And maybe he's right, because I never planned on getting lost in his office that night. But losing my way was the only way I ever found him. And in the end, that was the only story worth writing. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.